Today we're gonna create a cinematic effect and animate it using Photoshop. Hey there, my name is Ali. You can find me on Instagram at the screen in front of you. The technique we're gonna use today is called the 2.5D or the parallax effect. Let's get started. I'll drag my first photo. Okay, I'll make sure the timeline is closed for now. Then I'm gonna use the crop tool. I don't want it to be landscape. I'll make it a portrait photo. So I'm gonna make it like this. Okay. Then I wanna color grade it. How I'm gonna do this? First, I'll just like reduce the image size. You don't have to do this. I'll just do it so the file is like faster. Okay. Now we're gonna color grade this. I'm gonna go add a curves adjustment layer. And I'll just bring the highlights very strongly below. And some of like my midtones. Yeah, something like that. Then I wanna change the color. It's dark, so it should be like blue because it's night. So I'm gonna go to gradient map. I'm gonna pick the first color and go to color. I'll go with something like dark non-saturated blue. Then on the highlights, I'll go with a cyan, more saturated maybe. And then I'll just press click here in the middle. It will add another point. I will go to color and I'll give it something like another blue. Okay, now I'm gonna change the mode from normal to color and reduce the opacity a little bit. Now what we did is we changed it from this to that. I believe if it's like a little bit not saturated, I want to add a little bit of color to it. So I'm just gonna go to the colors. I'll move them just to the right. Moving them to the right will make them more saturated. Just move them to the right a little bit. This one I'll move it here maybe. Make the color really strong. Okay. Now I wanna like make it even more like darker at parts and brighter at other parts. I'm gonna increase the brightness a little bit and I'm gonna make like increase the contrast. Or maybe I'll decrease the contrast and the brightness. I'm just like playing around. Okay, like that. Now we went from this to this. Okay, now we made it like dark. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold Control and Alt and Shift and then press E. This will merge everything into a new separate layer. Okay, now I don't need these anymore. I have my new layer. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start creating my like parallax effect. I will go to the quick selection tool and I'll select the ice down here below. I'll add even the rock, the two rocks and the man as well. Okay, the selection is not clean, so I'm gonna just like refine it a little bit. I'll do this like really fast now, but you can take your time with it. I just want like to select the man out of the background. Okay, like that. And the final part is this part. It's okay if it's not really accurate, I can still fix it. I missed this part, so I'm gonna press shift and just add this part. Add this one also. Yeah, and like I said, you can take your time with it. Okay, now I'm gonna press Ctrl and J. This will make a new layer of only my selection, which is the man and the ice. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold Ctrl and press click on this layer. Now I have the selection. I don't need this now. I just made the selection. I'm gonna stand on this layer, go to select, modify, and expand. I will make my selection bigger by 4 pixels. Now I made my selection a little bit bigger. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go again to select, modify, and I'll feather it by 2 pixels. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is go to edit, fill, and I'll make sure it's content aware and I'll press OK. This will like Photoshop automatically will try to remove what I'm selecting. Okay, it did like good job here with it. It's like if you look from far, it's not obvious. and we have our layer. Now we have our like two main layers. I'll add one more. I'll add the snow layer. This one, I'll add it like on top of everything. Then I'll make it like much bigger. It doesn't matter like how you do it. I'll rasterize it and then go to filter, blur, motion blur. Give it some sort of a blur like it's falling. And I'll change it into screen mode like this. If it's too strong or like you feel it's a little bit too strong, just press Ctrl and M. It will open the curves adjustment. Just bring the highlights a little bit down. And maybe push the shadows more, something like that. If I press Ctrl and Z, you see the before and after, it's a little bit settled now. Okay, then I'm again gonna drag another one for the snow. But this one, I'm not gonna do what I did to the other one. I'll just leave it the way it is, as it is. Maybe just reduce the opacity a little bit of both of them. Okay, now we have our 4 layers here. I'm gonna make sure they are like smart objects. So right click, convert to smart object on all of them. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to window and timeline. This will open the timeline window in Photoshop. I'm gonna make sure it's a video timeline, not a frame animation. And I'm gonna press create. Okay, now we have our like all the layers here are in a timeline of, this will make it larger and smaller. It's of 5 seconds. If you see, here is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, on the first layer, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on transform. This will add a keyframe to the transform. I want to make this layer go bigger by time. So the first keyframe, nothing will change. But at the end of our timeline, I'm gonna press Ctrl T and make it a lot larger. So now what happened is Photoshop in these 5 seconds will make it go from smaller to bigger. Okay, always make your resolution 25% so it goes like faster. Okay, and on this layer, I'm gonna do the opposite of what I did. I want the first to be small and the last, no, sorry, I want the first to be big and the last to be small. So I'll do a transform. At the beginning of the timeline, I'll make it something big like that. And at the end of the timeline, I'll make it much smaller like this. Okay, so let's see what happens. I press spacebar for play. Okay, just I'll close these two just so we can see it for now. And maybe zoom in. Yeah, it's just the resolution is bad because I made the resolution 25%. But like you get the point of it. Okay. Now to the snow layer. I'm gonna open them. I'm gonna reduce the opacity a little bit. Now no, I'm gonna go with transform again. I'll press Ctrl and T, make sure it's like bigger than the canvas and make sure it's starting from like down left. This point is here. This is my first point. I'll go to the end of the canvas and I'm gonna press Ctrl T and move it until it's here. So now what's gonna happen is that the snow, let's close this one now. The snow, you see, is gonna move from top right to down left. Okay, and then this snow will add the other layer of snow. And this one, I'm gonna do something like maybe different. I just wanna make sure it's the size is like square. Okay, I'm gonna go with make sure it's also down right. Like the snow should be moving in the same direction. And I'll do transform. Then at the middle, I'll just move it, Control T and move it a little bit like this. Then I'll move it at the end somewhere like this on the down right. So we made like different types of movement. Something like that. Then it moves in another direction. But the snow is like, it's too strong. So what I want to do is, because like in real life, the snow is not always the same color. So I'm going to do an opacity keyframe. And then as we go forward, I reduce the opacity just a little bit. And then increase it again. And then I'll just, at the last, decrease it to the max. I'll do the same with the other one. I'll go to the beginning of everything. click the opacity keyframe, and then by the passage of time, I want it to go like a little. Maybe I will start with something very low, almost invisible. Then it will go a little bit higher. Then again, it will go like little smaller, then more smaller, and then it will just like fade away almost and increase a little bit. So now you see the snow is like moving and it's going like more visible and more invisible. It's going slow. The first time you will play it, it will go slow because it's still rendering the video, but the second time it will go faster. Like this whole thing should be 5 seconds here. Okay, that's the first time. Okay, it's still slow because like my computer is slow, so I don't think we'll ever get to see how it's gonna be on Photoshop. We must render the video to enable to be see what it's gonna look like. Okay, the last thing I wanna add is I wanna add like a music. I have downloaded some music for or not music, like sound of wind blowing. So I'm gonna go to add audio, and then I'm gonna click on this, the sound I added. Here it is. I don't want it to be that long. I'll minimize my frame, and I'll just make it 5 seconds as well as the rest of everything. Okay, now we have our timeline here. Let's take a final look. The snow, it will start like this. This is the first second. I will do one thing. I don't like the snow here. It's too strong. It's this layer, I believe. Okay. In this layer, the first keyframe of opacity, I'll just reduce the opacity a little bit. Maybe something like a lot. So now it will start like this. It will keep moving forward and the snow will keep moving and fading in and out. Okay. Once you're done, what you're gonna do is either press the arrow down or go to File, Export, Render Video. It's the same. The render video will open. Make sure it's high quality, or if you want any different like for YouTube or anything, make sure it's high quality. Select where you want to save it, and let's rename this to Snow Introduction and click on Render. This will take time, of course, depending on your computer speed. And this time you can like make sure if you like the video, like it and subscribe. And I'm just gonna skip this part. Okay guys, now we got our final video. I'm gonna press play. Let's see how it's gonna look like. Okay guys, now I got my final video. I'm gonna press play. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial guys. Make sure you subscribe and like this video if you liked it. Thank you.